Albania might not be known for its infrastructure, but much like old Mercedes-Benzes and the letter Q, Albanians love their football, so they do actually have some interesting grounds. Here are the Kategoria Superiore stadiums. Elbasan Arena. Elbasan was actually founded by the same guy who conquered Constantinople back in the day. It was first used as a base for military operations against the Albanians, who seemingly got the last laugh, cause here we are 550 years later, Albania is still around, but Mehmed II has been real quiet lately. This ground is perhaps not as interesting as the town's history, but there is one oddity with it. It's home to Dinamo City, who are actually a Tirana-based club. That's a different city. We'll get to the reason why later on. Arena Ignatia. Since we're talking about history, Ignatia Club is named after a Roman road that passed through the area, Via Ignatia. So in a roundabout way, this stadium is following the tradition of football grounds being named after roads. I'm not sure of the exact year this venue opened, but I can only assume that it was built slightly after Via Ignatia was built over 2,000 years ago. The roof covering the main stand certainly was. It was completed just recently. Stadium Niko Dovana. That's kinda cool how the stadium is surrounded by fields, some of which are of the football variety, and some of the donkey grazing variety. I promise I won't keep talking about history, but I have to now mention that Durrës, the city we're in now, was the starting point of the aforementioned Via Ignatia. As for the stadium, well, it's similar to the first ground we saw, albeit in worse condition. Kukës Arena. Now that's more like it. We have the first appearance of a proper four-sided rectangular stadium. A rather nice one, in fact. It was basically entirely rebuilt just last year. One thing I found strange is that they claim the design is inspired by the surrounding mountain landscape. I don't see that. How is it? I guess if you climb the stands, you are treated with a nice view. Same goes for mountains, but that's a bit of a stretch. Stadia Laç. Speaking of mountains, it looks like we're stuck on top of one right now. We need to be down there. How are we going to get down? Let's use the magic of technology. That's better. I love how those buildings on the surrounding hills look as though they're watching the game. It makes the stadium feel like it's actually part of the community, rather than just being some big enclosed building for paying customers only. And now we're in the capital, Tirana, at Arena Demava, which was built on a disused military base that the club leases from the government. The 99-year lease cost them a grand total of €1. I'd imagine it was actually a €1 coin handed over in person, as is often the case with these nominal fees. I don't know why it's in euro though. Albania has its own currency. Anyway, doesn't matter. This is the first stadium we've seen where all of the seats are undercover. That's a plus. When a large crowd is expected, Partizani and I believe other Tirana-based clubs play their matches at Albania Stadium, which is comfortably the biggest and most advanced stadium in the country. It was built on the site of Stadium Kemal Mustafa, which served as the national team's home for 70 years. This was built loosely in commemoration of the 100th anniversary of Albania's independence. That was in 2012, which was around the time they decided to build it, but of course it only opened in 2019. Part of that old stadium was actually preserved. This monument here had to be disassembled and then reassembled, so that it could be properly integrated into the new stadium's design. The rest of the place is about as modern as it gets. You may have noticed that there's a rather large tower attached to the stadium. That is a hotel. One where presumably the prices fluctuate dramatically depending on the stadium's schedule. Come to think of it, that's the second time in the last couple of weeks that I've talked about a Marriott hotel attached to a sports venue. This one blends in a lot better though. Other than that, the mosaic walls throughout the interior make for a unique look. I really do like this stadium, but I've been talking about it for like 2 minutes, so we've got to move on. Stadium Skënderbeu is like a couple of the stadiums that we've already seen in this league, but there are some features that set it apart somewhat. That being the extensive stonework throughout the stadium, as well as the row of trees that surrounds it. And we've seen a lot of beautiful mountain backdrops, but I reckon this one takes the cake. Nothing but nature. Interestingly, despite Korçë being a town of just 75,000 people, Skënderbeu have won the league 7 out of the last 13 seasons, including 6 in a row from 2010 onwards. Stadium Selman Stërmasi is almost the spitting image of the previous ground from above. Inside though, the design is very distinctive, mainly due to that checkerboard colour scheme throughout. Ironically, they wear a striped shirt. Right colours though. The ground is home to KF Tirana, the country's most successful club of all time. But up until recently it was also home to their rival club, Dinamo City. However, KF Tirana owns the ground, and the two clubs couldn't come to terms regarding payment. So, as we saw at the start of the video, Dinamo City are now playing in the nearby city of Elbasan. Stadium Loro Boriçi. This stadium is both the oldest and the largest in the league, if you disregard the national stadium. That mosque right there is so freaking loud, by the way, especially at 4:45 in the morning. The aspect that stands out most with this stadium's design is this interesting segmented section at the southern end. Painted pink because why not? And after a major renovation 7 or 8 years ago, the seating now resembles a combination of the Sprite and Pepsi logos, which I'm sure is exactly what they were going for. You know, if you mix Sprite and Pepsi in a glass, you somehow get Fanta. Scientists are yet to figure out why this occurs. So there you have it. When choosing a favourite, I disregarded the national stadium, which is obviously better than the rest. I went with Kukës Arena, just has a lot going for it. If you enjoyed the video, or at least didn't hate it, please consider subscribing. If you already have subscribed, you are clearly a wise individual. Thanks for watching, have a good one.